And there we go, we're recording. So welcome to Painting Through the Pandemic. I'm Shauna Sue from Crooked Door Studio. The studio is in beautiful Uptown Marysville, Ohio, in historic Uptown Marysville. We've been closed almost a year, a couple more weeks and it'll be a year. But that's okay. We've been closed because of the pandemic. Fingers crossed, I'm still eyeballing May, late May, as our physical opening date. But since the pandemic started and we closed the studio space, which was the best thing to do, the most responsible thing to do, we've had our Saturday night Zoom sessions and random private parties and things. And the donations that you guys send, couple dollars here, couple dollars there, that all really makes a difference. Those donations are what have made it possible for me to pay my rent on my space in the Uptown, to keep it reserved for me. So when May comes around and we're ready to get back in that studio, I will have a space to go to. We will all have a space to go to. So for those of you that donate, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. I mean that. I couldn't do this without those donations and still have my space. So if you would like to donate to the studio, that's in the Zoom chat. Just scroll all the way to the top. Venmo, PayPal, check, cash, carrier pigeon with $1 tied to its foot, whatever works for you. I'm easy. Okay, so first things first, let's go through our supplies for tonight. Okay, let's see. First things first. I don't know why I turned around. First things first, paint shirt and or apron. I know we're all painting at home. We're painting in maybe a not quite paint safe place, right? We're not in a studio, more than likely. So take a look around, make sure there's nothing that you're super concerned about if you get paint on. I see somebody commented something about paper towels, studio in bed, not ideal. No, a studio in bed is not ideal, especially with the one we're going to do tonight. We're going to get a little messy. We'll talk about the painting here in a minute. We'll talk about our inspiration picture, but my guidance to you tonight is messy is good. Messy is so good tonight. This is one of those paintings, if you try to control it, it's going to look controlled, and that's not what you want. You want it to be very free flowing. So take a look around, because at some point we're going to use a toothbrush and we're going to flick for stars, and those stars will go everywhere. So please take a look around, make sure everything is safe and secure. If you do get paint on your clothing right away and you notice it, run to the sink, warm water. I always point to my shoulder because I'm real bad about putting a brush in my teeth when I'm doing something and then turning my head and hitting my shoulder with my brush. Warm soapy water if the paint on your clothing is still wet. If it's dried and you find it later, like I have been known to find paint on my couch later because my living room is right there. I've been known to find paint on my couch. Murphy's oil soap. Dab some Murphy's oil soap on it, leave it set overnight, come back tomorrow with the toothbrush and a little bit of water, come right out. Okay, so paint shirt, apron, got all of that taken care of. Canvas. So I know you all are painting on different size canvases, right? I'm painting on a 16 by 20 stretched canvas. And I will usually tell you, turn this a little, I will usually tell you that it's really good to paint your edges. That way your canvas, your painting is wrapped all the way around. You don't have to frame it later. It's all done, right? You can put it in a frame, but stretched canvases are lovely if you paint the edges, because then when you're done painting, you're done, right? And I will usually say, paint your edges as you go. We're gonna do that a little different tonight. We're gonna do edges first. We'll talk about that in a minute. You don't have to paint your edges. If you don't want to, that's up to you. But what you don't want to do is start painting your edges and then stop halfway through. That looks messy and unfinished. Okay, so one way or the other. Cool. Okay, and then I'm painting on 16 by 20. I've decided with our inspiration painting tonight, I'm going to go vertical. Really up to you. If you would much rather have a landscape painting, I think this painting works well either way you do it. There's so many different ways you could do this painting. I even thought you could flip it this way if you have a place that will accommodate landscape, right? If wherever you want to put it when you're done. And it would be kind of nice to do like your tree down here in this area, and then have lots of movement in your sky up and over here. Up to you, right? It's your painting. Just leave those options open for you. Okay, supplies. You also need a water cup, halfway full. I'm laughing because there's nothing in my water cup. I should probably go fill this. Halfway full of cool or cold water, never warm or hot. You always want your water to be cool or cold. And I have a mason jar that I have designated as my water jar, as my water cup. I like something heavy, something weighty. I'm less likely to knock it over. And I'm less likely to drink out of this because it has the ridges on the top. I've been known to drink my paint water before if it's in a coffee cup. Okay, so I'm going to step away for just a second and go get water because that was an oops, my bad. And I'm back. Okay. Beauty of living in a tiny home. My kitchen's right here. My living room's right there. My bedroom's just right there. Okay. So cool or cold water. All right, let's talk about all of our random implements for tonight. So first, we need our trusty 3-brush set, right? I have a big brush. Yours might be flat, yours might be oval, yours might be angular, just your biggest brush, right? We'll need that to cover big, broad areas. I also have a medium brush. I don't know if I'm going to use my medium brush tonight, but I like to have it ready just in case, okay? I'm using a medium filbert. If you're looking for a measurement, he's probably about a 1/4 inch wide. And then if I turn him sideways, he's very thin profile. Okay, so my big brush, my medium brush, I'm using a number 5 round. Yours might be a 3, it might be a 7, right? It's entirely up to you what round you use, but you want to make sure it has a really nice pointy end on it. That's going to help you with those really fine, the fine branches up in your tree. Okay, so my 3 brush set that I have, I'm going to take those, pop them in my water cup now that I have water in it, and leave them there. Okay, that's a good reminder that when I'm done with the brush, it goes back in the water cup with his friends. Okay, other things that I have tonight to play with, I have a toothbrush. We're going to use a toothbrush for stars. If you don't have a toothbrush, you can use a big brush, but your chances of getting like strings of paint with a big brush are pretty high as opposed to using a toothbrush. If you paint all the time and this is something you really enjoy, you start adding these things in your paint kit, right? I have a random bag that I throw my paint stuff in since I've been traveling back and forth and painting at home a lot. Every time I replace a toothbrush in the bathroom, whether it's mine, my husband's, my dog's, I throw it in my paint bag because I'll use it for something, right? So toothbrush, palette knife. I'm going to use a palette knife tonight down in the ground, maybe even in the, like the leaves in the tree. If you don't have a palette knife, you can use an old credit card. I have my old AAA card that's not good anymore. You want something that has a nice flat, firm surface, right? Can't use paper. You want something that has like a firm, aggressive surface on it. So an old credit card, old driver's license. You can cut up, if you have nothing else, cut up junk mail. Junk mail that's like cardstock, that's like heavy plasticky cardstock. You can cut that up in squares and use that. So I have a palette knife and an old credit card, old AAA card that I'm going to play with. Something else I keep in my paint bag, paint pen. Just because, right? Something I keep. I feel very strongly that every artist should sign their painting. Maria, I'm going to go over 7:15 tonight. It's going to happen. So weird. It's because I didn't start till 7:02, right? It's because I didn't start at 7. So, and I got super excited about Baby Yoda and his little sister. Paint pen. I think every artist should sign their painting. A A lot of artists don't like to sign on the front. You don't have to, you can sign on the back, but I keep a paint pen so I can either sign on the front because I'm really bad at signing with a brush, or I can sign on the back with this as well, right? So I always keep a paint pen in my bag. All right, paper towels to blot my brushes off on. Paint. Let's talk a little bit about paint that we have tonight. Okay, tonight I have blockout white, bright yellow, any yellow will do, whatever yellow you have will work. Bright red. Those of you that have painted with us before, we've had the conversation about reds, and sometimes red can go sideways. Make sure tonight you're using a red that leans more blue than it does orange. Okay. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, we're going to use red to mix with blue to get a fun purple color. If you're not sure what red you have, if your red is fire red, magenta is perfect, Kayla. Magenta should work fine. But if you have a red that looks very orange, like a cadmium red, maybe, you're welcome. You might want to do a little bit of mixing on your plate just to check it out. Okay. Mix a little bit of blue and a little bit of red and add a little bit of white to see what kind of purple you're going to get. If your red is too orange and you try to mix it with blue, you're going to get poop. No amount of mixing is going to get you purple if you have the wrong red. Okay. I have phthalo blue. I love phthalo blue because it's nice and dark and rich, right? Phthalo green. It's a very turquoisey looking green. And then Mars black. So those are my colors I have for tonight. If you got paint from the studio, I always like to point out, if you get supplies from the studio, you get paint in little 2-ounce cups like this, little condiment cups. So you take a little bit, pour it out on your plate, and then snap the lid back on it. As long as you keep the air out of here, it'll last for weeks, if not months, right? As long as you get a nice seal back on it. Okay. And then this ensures that I have clean white later if I need, because I'm really bad about dirtying up all the white on my plate all at once. Okay. Now our inspiration painting. Let's talk. Ooh, crimson's good. Crimson's a good one because that leans more blue and less orange. So crimson should be good. So here's our inspiration painting, right? We're going to get super messy and we're going to be super free. But I want to let you know the direction we're going to go. We're going to start by painting our edges of our canvas black. And then I'm going to come in a little bit on the top, around the top, and maybe on the sides just a little bit with some black. And then we'll move to an old sock, an old dish towel, a sponge maybe, and we'll start to get some blue, transition over into red to get that purple. Over here, we'll get some blue, we'll head down into green, and then we'll come back with some yellow and white, and we'll play with that yellow and white and have it, if you squint your eyes, you can kind of see it's starbursting out that yellow and white from behind your tree. And a mop brush would be fun. Play with all the things tonight, Kayla. We'll see what works, right? We'll see what gives you the look you want. Mop brush would be lovely because you'll be able to get those twirls up in there. Oh, glitter, baby Yoda. Glitter is always a thing. So we'll get all our background on there. And then we're going to put some stars in, and I'm going to use a toothbrush for that. And then we're going to come down in here and put the ground on. That's where I'm going to use my palette knife. And then our tree right there in the middle. So that's a roadmap for where we're going. I say, let's get started. All right. Find your biggest brush in your water cup. If you have new, I always tap my brush very gently in the bottom of my cup. Not aggressive, just very gently. Because if you got new brushes, you want to get the starch out of the bristles. If you have old brushes, they might have a little bit of dried paint left over in them, a little dried paint residue left over. Let's soften that up a little bit. Okay, tap, tap, tap. All right, dry it off on your paper towel. And let's start. Oh, let's not start yet. If you're in the position where you can go look at the moon, it is gorgeous. I can see it right here in my screen out my window. And I was like, what? I'm pointing as if you can tell what I'm pointing at, right? Right up. Oh, no, I can't do this backwards. Right there. It's like, what is that? Is that a headlight? That's the moon. It's spectacular and full and hazy and lovely. Okay, let's get started now. Big brush, dry it off on your paper towel. Anytime you take paint, we always go in the edge, right? Never the middle of the puddle. I know, right, Amber? So I'm going to go here in the edge with some black. And I'm going to start tonight by painting my edges. So when I say painting edges, I mean where it wraps all the way around. So I'm going to start down here at the bottom, painting my edges. And as I work my way up, I'm going to start to creep over onto the front a little bit. Watch me here real quick. I want black, little bit here, and then I want it to kind of creep into this corner around the top in an oval and back down. I don't want you to draw a line, though. I want it to be very free and just kind of creep down in wherever it goes. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, just stay with me. Paint those edges and watch what I'm doing, and it'll make sense. Oops, I'm already flicking paint. Oh, that moon is gorgeous. If we're personal friends on Facebook, you'll see I took a little road trip today. I went down to Rockbridge. I went down around Hocking Hills to pick up my gliders, my glider footrests to go with my glider chairs, because my glider chairs go around my fire pit. I am so ready for fire pit season. Can't stand it. So ready. Okay, do you see how I'm bringing that black in? I'm pulling from the outside edge and I'm pulling in and letting go. I'm getting this nice feathery edge. That's going to be a lot easier to camouflage with my colors than if I have a hard line I have to try to hide later. Oh my goodness, 63 logged in tonight. That's awesome, you guys. I don't think we've had a class that big in a while. Again, my goal is like an oval of black. That's going to help by getting those, especially those top corners black. And then as we work in, we're going to have this lovely bright spot here behind our tree. That black around the edges is really going to frame that and bring your eye right into that tree. I just keep looking out at the moon. It's beautiful. We're going to do this all the way around. Reach up there on the top, get that tippy top. Now, depending on where you're painting, where you're physically painting, and what your lighting situation is, it's really helpful when you're painting such a dark color right off the bat to change the angle on your painting every now and then, because it looks perfectly black right here for me. But if I flip it forward, I can see where I miss it. You can't see it on here because it's so fine, but I can see where I'm missing. It's not, the paint isn't getting down in the weave of the canvas. So every now and then, change the angle that you're looking at your painting. Oh, while we're all working on our background, this is our last class for the month. Can't believe February is just about over. We're getting ready to head into March. I don't have the March calendar set yet. If you have ideas for what you would like to see on the calendar for March, send me ideas. Yoda's mom, I saw yours. Andrea, I saw the one that you sent with the little birds, very spring-like. That's going, I shouldn't say that's going on the calendar, but that's going up for vote. I really like that one. So send me your ideas, and then I'll post them all up on Facebook tomorrow, and we'll vote, and the top ones win. I don't even know how many Saturdays there are in March. Are there 4 or are there 5? I don't know if we need 4 paintings or 5 paintings, but I'll put up probably 10 or 12 to have people vote. 4, Baby Yoda, thank you. Baby Yoda's so smart. Anybody else feel like this is hair for a monster? Like this is a monster head? Like I could put big eyes here and a nose and a big mouth, and I just have a monster on my canvas. So I like to be respectful of everyone's time. About 7:35, I'll check in. And if I see at 7:35, I'll ask. And if there are a lot of flailing arms at that point, meaning you're not ready, then we'll give you another 5 minutes. Okay. But 7:35, that gives you about 7-ish minutes, 7, 8 minutes. And it's just the black we're working on right now. And it does not need to be dry before we move on. Okay. I think. Yeah. Again, changing the angle, making sure, especially out on those edges, that you have good coverage with that black. You don't want to come back later and see that you're missing parts. You don't want to see speckles. So about 6, 7 minutes, I'll check in. I'll ask if you're ready at that point or if you need 5 more minutes. So about 7:35. Kayla, I'm kind of jealous of your mop brush. I can't wait to see how that works out. was kind of what I was thinking with my sock, mopping with it. I just know we want cool, especially when we get into the yellow and the white, we want cool texture back in there. Mm. I'm curious as to what you guys are listening to. I hope you have your music up, got your beverage and your music, and you're enjoying yourself. Oh, alcohol inks would be fantastic for this one. That's one of those things, Baby Yoda. Once we get back in the studio, we'll have to play. I kind of wanted to do a either alcohol inks or a pour. A pour would be awesome. If you do the alcohol inks later, you'll have to let me know. Emily, is that you and your mama painting together? Look at you girls all together. Oh, hi, Stacy. I see ya. I see you there painting. Welcome. Oh my goodness. Ohio, Florida, and Pennsylvania. I'm so glad you guys are here painting together. That's awesome. Paint nights are always good for the soul, I think. I had a private so the bottom, I didn't bring. Good question. You can, if you have an easel like mine, you can pick it up and hang it and paint that bottom edge. I'm going to do mine later. I'll probably do mine at the very, very end. I did not bring any of the black up onto the bottom. Good question. So I was doing we got about 3 minutes and I'll check in with everyone. So I was doing a virtual paint party the other day via Zoom, and one of the ladies she just kept saying, I'm no good at this. I'm just no good at this, but it sure is fun. And I said, you have to remember, this is, I feel, 99% process and 1% product. If you enjoy it, keep doing it, right? We learn, we grow, we experiment, we try new things. We forget about the world for a little bit while we're doing this. And if you walk out with a cool painting, that's a bonus, right? But as long as you enjoy painting, keep painting, right? I would say probably 1 out of every 10 paintings I do, I love and I have a hard time parting with. 1 out of 10. A lot of it's about me learning techniques and experimenting and playing and growing as an artist. Oh, Andrea, there you are. I was thinking about you earlier today. The pumpkins that I never picked up because I'm a mess. It's easier if you just admit it right off the bat, right? I'm a mess. I forgot about the pumpkins. I'm sorry. Somebody gave me, Andrea, somebody gave me pumpkins, frozen rocks. if they're still out there, I should probably just come by and pick them up, scoop them up with a shovel. Somebody gave me pumpkins, back before Christmas, and I took them and dumped them in the chicken yard. Oh, if they're still there, I need to just come and get them. I need to come and get them either tomorrow or Monday when I go to the grocery store. I'll let you know if I remember. I'm a mess. I'm sorry. But I dumped the pumpkins out in the yard and they got covered in snow. Well, the snow has melted in that area and the chickens are having a heyday with those pumpkins, just tearing the snot out of them. So frozen rocks or not, they'll enjoy them. Okay, it is 7:35. Flail wildly if you need another 5 minutes. I see some flailing. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. 5 minutes. So in the meantime, if you're done, brush and water cup. We're done with that. We're done with that big brush. Now you may decide to paint more of your background with colors with the big brush. But again, I'm going to use a sock or a sponge or a dish towel. I'll talk about that more in a little bit, in 5 minutes when we move on. Hi, Cheryl. I got your gift at the studio, honey. That was incredibly sweet. Thank you. Oh, Amber, I'm guessing you're saying you've been looking forward to this painting. Did you see the confused look on my painting? Like, is Amber having a stroke? Like, what's happening? Oh, sweet pea. I'm glad you're here tonight. Oh, Marie, are you finding stuff? Yeah. Okay, cool. You know what, Amber? It's all right to be a mess. Wait, who's eating Chinese? Who's having, oh, biting. I'm a little slow, but I got it. Oh, shoot. Oh, you guys are killing me. I'm so slow. Stuff usually just zoop right over my head. Oh my God. It kind of is a requirement to be a mess, to be an artist. You know what? Not necessarily a mess, but I think just being honest with who you are. It's so much easier for me to just say right out, I'm not trying to pretend I'm something I'm not. I'm a big old hairy mess. Hairy. Probably shouldn't have said that. You do have to be real, right, Baby Yoda? It's easier that way. I don't think anybody has any expectations. Nobody has super high expectations of me. Life is easier that way. I should say nobody has, we're going to get philosophical for a minute. Nobody has higher expectations for me than I have for myself. So there's that. We're not going to go down this road because counseling was earlier in the week. There is always order to the chaos. That is true. My poor counselor. It is more interesting when you don't fit in the box, right? But I'm sure there are times that my counselor is just like, what is happening, Shauna Sue? And I just sit there and go, I don't know. I'm a mess. Ooh. You just roll with it, right, Kayla? You just roll with the weirdness that comes. A lot of the stuff that has gone on in the past couple years, you can't make that up, right? You would write it down and somebody go, that never happened. You just got to roll with it. All right, one more minute. And then I say we go ahead and move on. And again, it doesn't have to be dry before we move on. Keep looking at myself in my camera. I have light that is glaring on my shiny forehead, and I keep thinking it's white paint. And still there's a part of my brain that's like, how'd you get white paint on your forehead? Oh, really? You're going to ask yourself that? You always get white paint on your forehead. This is nothing new, white paint on the forehead. Okay, it's 7:40. So time to wrap up that black. We're going to go ahead and move on into color. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to do this color, because I want you to feel free to go whatever direction makes your heart happy. The thing to remember, and I know this is, I'm trying to get a good angle here. It's hard to see because it's a tablet. It's hard to get a good representation of those colors. The thing to remember as we do this is we have to use the colors in a certain order so we don't get poop. Let me explain. We talked a little bit about poop a minute ago. If you mix the wrong red with blue, because if your red has too much orange and blue, while we love those colors together, they look sharp together. If you mix them together while they're wet, you get poop because they're opposites on the color wheel. Oh my goodness, Kim had surgery. Well, I'm so glad you're here tonight. Purple and yellow, we love purple and yellow, right? They make each other pop, but they're opposites on the color wheel. If you mix them together, poop. Red and green, right? Christmas, we love it. Those colors are great together. Mix them together, poop. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to start up here with blue, and then we're going to add a little tiny bits of white as we go. Not a lot of white, but a tiny bit. So we're going to start with blue, and we're going to work down in this corner, across the top and down the side. And then we can get into some green down here because blue and green are safe. Oh, Kayla, that's sad and awesome. Oh my God, you should, Shannon. You should be counting how many times I say poop because it's not over yet. Get down into some green. Blue and green are safe, Shannon, not poop. Then we're going to go back up in here into the blue and work our way down this side into some red, blue and red. As long as you have a safe red, you don't know if you have a safe red, mix a little blue and red on your plate, add a little white and see what color you get. If you get, Shannon, poop, if you get poop when you mix it on your plate, you're going to have to stay away from mixing the blue and red together. Okay. So blue and red. And then as we get down in here, we're going to start to add some yellow. Okay. And then we'll give that all a minute to dry. I don't really want it to be super dry, but I don't want to make a mess out of things. And then yellow and white. So as long as we put our paint down in that order, we should be okay. Now, if things start to, Shannon, poop, you know, it now sounds like it's a name, Shannon Poop. Sorry. Now, I totally forgot what I was going to say because I was too busy talking about poop. I don't know where I was going. Lost my train of thought. That happens. Let's get started. So figure out what you're going to use for this part. You could use a brush. Absolutely. You could use crumpled up paper towels. Someone earlier said crumpled up paper bag. That's all awesome. Tissue paper. I'm a little nervous about the tissue paper, and I'm nervous about paper towel because it's gonna start to break down, right? The more you use it, it's going to start to fall apart and break down. And I don't want to have to pick bits of paper out of my painting. Oh, balloons. That's fun, Baby Yoda. I'm going to try, I have an old washcloth, an old dish rag that I've tied a knot in, and it has given me this lovely little crinkly stomper. I'm going to play with that a little bit, I think. Okay. Let's see. So let's start. Again, we're going to do blue up in this corner. We're going to come across the top and down this side. And then we're going to start to add white, little bits of white. So whatever stomper you choose, I might use this piece first. So blue. I might even use a tiny bit of black to blend those a little. Blue up in here. Tiny bit of white. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Little bit of white is going to go a long way. The thing to remember with this is it needs to be really uneven and really messy. I'm kind of do you see I'm kind of playing? I'm like, do I want to scrub? Oh, I kind of like the scrub. Kind of like what that's doing. Do I want to tap, tap, tap? No. A little darker blue. Blue down here. Just whatever you do, stay uneven and random. Let's try to not get a pattern, right? It's really hard for us sometimes to want to put things down in a very precise way. Don't want to do that tonight, okay? Take that blue on up over into the black. If you're having a hard time where you can see your black under, add the tiniest, you can either add the tiniest bit of black or the tiniest bit of white, one or the other. All of our paint is very transparent. The paint that you get from the studio, yours might be different, but the paint that we have at the studio is student grade acrylic paint. It's all very transparent except for black and white. So if I'm just putting blue on there, it's very transparent. You can see right through it. But if I add a little tiny, tiny bit of white, that makes it a little more solid. Black will do the same thing. It's all about whatever look you're going for. So some blue, tiny, tiny bit of white. Come down here. I really like that. I'm like scribbling. And the thing to remember with acrylic paint is it blends while it's wet. Once it's dry, it will not blend. That's fun. Okay. Taking that blue better than halfway down here. And then I'm going to take it across the top and around. If you don't like what you have going on right now, try something different. Try a brush. Try a crumpled up paper towel. Try a sock. Try a different brush. Play with it. I'm really liking this this dish towel tied in a knot, and I'm just scribbling. Good to get the aggression out, I suppose. But I'm letting it be darker in places, lighter in other places. Just letting it happen. Now, if you're looking for measurements, I want to make sure that blue comes down about halfway on my canvas in the middle, kind of creating this diagonal line. So if I find the middle of my canvas, I want the blue to go to cover this diagonal area. Again, it's not precise. It can cover more if you want. If you're digging the blue, stay with it. Again, there's no right or wrong. Oh, a little white. That's fun. How's your scribbling going? Everybody scribbling? Everybody getting out that aggression? Oh, a little more white down in here. Remember, our ultimate goal is we're getting to a bright spot here behind our tree. So if you wanted to add a tiny, tiny bit more white as you get down closer to the middle, you could. Not too much though. Blue. And I'm going to change the order that I said to do things here. Because I think I said we were going to work down into green. I don't think so. I think I'm going to work into red while this is still wet right here. So I'm going to get a little more blue up in here. Because as I add red to it, I'll start to get purple. I want my blue to be wet on there. And remember, this is just this first layer. We're going to do more fun stuff over top of it, but we got to get those base colors. Okay, with my messy blue, I'm going to add a little bit of red and see what happens. Oh, that. Some purple. Ooh, that's good. Maybe a tiny bit of white. Remember, random, uneven, let it go. It's funny, I'm developing this weird split right here. I'm okay with that. I think maybe I'll take my yellow and white, because once we've gone all the way around, we're going to come back with that yellow and white and kind of flame it out. I'll bring a flame right up in between those two. Not worried about it in the least. Whew. Now I know I'm going to add yellow in the middle later, but I think I'm going to add a little bit of yellow now. A little bit. Little yellow, little white. We'll see what happens. Little yellow mixed with that red. but I have to be careful if I have blue still on my sponge, on my painting implement, because again, I don't want poop. Red and white. You guys, this is fun. This is good stuff. So I think I'm going to take that red the rest of the way down. I know we're going to put black down here at the bottom, but I want the way we're going to put the black on there with a palette knife, with a scraper. I want color behind the black. So I'm going to go ahead and take some red and some yellow and some white. And I'm going to make sure I've got color down here. This kind of painting is so much fun because there's no right or wrong. It is what it is, right? As long as you don't wind up with poop. I know we're mostly adults on here, but I know there are a few kids on here. So we'll keep this PG. People have been known to take words that I say when I repeat myself and turn it into a game. And poop is probably not a word you should do that with, or it would end quite poorly. That was so very vague. But those of you that know, you know. All right. Red down here. Get all the way down to the bottom. Now I'm still taking the red down there, playing. Once I've taken the red all the way down on this left side, add a little white, a little yellow, play in there a little. Ooh, that's fun. Oh yeah, we're gonna play. This is gonna be fun later. Not yet though. Once we get that red down there, then I'm gonna flip and use something different and go back to blue and green, yellow down on the right hand side. But make sure and flip it, because you don't want red and then add green, right? Ooh. Okay. Little red, little blue. Work this area here. Ooh, that's fun. I love this style of painting because again, it's so free and so just crazy and all over the place. If we were to do this with a brush, it would be way too controlled, I think. In my world anyway, it would be too controlled. Now you may have luck doing this part with a brush. And if you do, I'd love to see it. But in my world, a brush would be too controlled here. Back with a little blue and a little red, try to blend those two a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to flip this and go back to blue and finish with green, yellow down here. For the most part, your whole canvas should be covered when we're done with this step. I might wind up with a little naked spot here in the middle. That's okay. Little naked spot is fine. And I may intentionally wind up with a little naked spot because if I have green, yellow down here, I certainly don't want to blend it into my red. That would be yucky. Ooh, an old dried blush brush? That's a fantastic idea, Kayla. Ooh, in an effort to not be messy, I tried to retie this. I untied it and put the paint on the inside and then retied it. And I think that made it even more of a mess. But that's okay. It's paint. You know, I talk so much about making sure you don't get paint on anything because it doesn't wash off. Doesn't wash off clothing. It doesn't wash out of fabric. It'll wash off your body though. So I never worry about getting paint on my body. Okay. So now I'm going to go back into some blue because this is probably dry by now. And when I have a clean scrubber. I'm going to make sure when I grab blue, I'm going to grab clean blue that doesn't have any red in it because I'm going to go from blue into green. I don't want red because why, Shannon? Poop. Okay, so blue. The same with white. If you're going to take a little bit of white to make things more interesting, you got to take clean white, not any of the white that has red in it, which is a little bit of a challenge right now. Okay. Blue. I should probably mention this. The amount of paint I'm using is pretty low. Did you get brown, Rhonda? Is that what's happening? It might be your red. The amount of paint I'm using is so little that I'm using just enough to cover the canvas. I can hear it. You probably can't, but I can hear it like scratching across the canvas. If I had more paint, you wouldn't be able to hear that, but it's so little paint that you can actually hear it like scratching a little bit. Okay. Blue, and now I'm going to get into some green. Again, staying away from that red. I think I might want to add a little yellow to get a little limey down there. Oh, that's pretty. That limey, greeny yellow down there. Oh, these colors are so pretty. So green, yellow, white. Again, make sure you're taking that color all the way down to the bottom, because we're going to put black over top of it, but you want that that interesting color behind it for the black to show beyond the black a little bit. Go. Okay, again, being respectful of everyone's time. 8:15. It's about another 10 minutes. We'll be ready to move on. And remember, if you feel I'm moving too fast or things just aren't turning out the way you think they should, take a break, take a breather. You can come back to the video later. I will try to post the video on the event. We'll be done probably about 9 o'clock. And I've been posting the video in the event page about 5 minutes after we end. I get the video link pretty quickly from Zoom. So you can access it there in the event. So you can go back pretty immediately. That's fun. A little taste of what that yellow white is going to look like out there. Oh, it's good stuff. Trying to decide if I can get one more fold out of this. Okay. So I managed to make it through without making mud. If you do start to get mud, I probably should have said this earlier. If you do start to get mud, if you start to get a really undesirable color, pause, take a breather. If there's a lot of paint on your canvas, you can take a damp paper towel and wipe off the undesirable color while it's still wet, and then give it a few minutes to dry, and then cover it back over. Probably have to add a little bit of white, but you should be able to cover it back over then. So 8:15, we're going to move on. And again, that's when we're going to move on to this yellow, white, and we're going to get some of those really fun twirls out in there that kind of radiate out from that bright spot in the middle. So I'm going to fold this again because I very much feel like this is going to be fun to get those twirls. So not the center knot that I have been using, but this end, I think that's going to be fun. Refold this one more time. Oh, the right side again. Absolutely. So sorry, I just now saw that, Kayla. So we're going to come back over to the right side. So your blue over here is probably dry. So start by get a new spot, get a new thing, a new brush. You don't want to use the one that has red in it. So refold this or get a new brush. Start with blue to get this area wet again. And then start to add some phthalo green and then some yellow and white. The phthalo green, yellow, and white is what's giving me this real bright, pretty lime color. Marie, I see you sending me pictures. Thank you. I haven't looked at them yet, but thank you. And this just reminded me, we need to talk when we're ready to open the studio back up. We need to make our own Crooked Door Studio shirts. I have a whole plan. I should probably never make that face ever again. Wait, one more time. Let's see. Ooh, Ooh, so we got about another 6 or 7 minutes. Giving this a little time to dry. It doesn't have to be dry before we move on, but in about 5, 6 minutes when we move on, you're going to need some clean white, clean yellow. I think I'm probably, even though I tried to use out of the edges of it, was really hard to be precise with pulling at the edges of my paint using a dish towel. So I will probably take this opportunity, get some clean yellow, clean white. I know a lot of you like to get clean water. I'm not worried about clean water because once we're done, unless you're using brushes. If you're using brushes, then you might want to get clean water. But I'm not worried about clean water because I'm not using brushes. I think this little rosebud is gonna be fun for that yellow white. So clean yellow, clean white, 5 minutes. You know what? Let's take this opportunity and get clean water. We're going to need clean water for splattering our stars. Almost forgot. So yes, clean white, clean yellow, clean water. Because as soon as we get that yellow white in there, we're putting the stars on. Clean white, clean yellow, clean water. Do you like how I make a plan and then change the plan? Mess. Mess. Oh, ooh, plot twist. I like that. It's me keeping you on your toes. Okay. Yellow, whoop. Yellow and white and water. So again, 2 minutes, clean yellow, clean white, clean water. I love that, Baby Yoda, right? Plot twist. Oh, Andrea, I'm sorry. Flash is sick again. Gertie's just kind of like standard medically fragile. She won't get better. But she's as happy as she can be for where she's at in her life. So for those of you that don't know, I have a medically fragile French bulldog, right? Happy accidents, right? I have a medically fragile French bulldog. She has ruptured 2 discs in her back. She had surgery for the first one. The second one, however, a year later, not a candidate for surgery any longer, because the first one we almost lost her. So she has very little use of her back legs. So she has a wheelchair. She has a little cart. She has a little sling, and every now and then she still does a happy little bone dance when I put a treat inside a toy and she finds it. She does this happy little dance. So she still has quality, but she is what she is. They do. Bulldogs tend to have a lot of medical problems, but she's my little nugget. Wait, there she is. There's my Gertrude. She's my little nugget. I know those of you that are dog people, cat people too, You have that dog that just like sinks into your heart right away. That was my Gertrude. We didn't have her that long, and I was like, I need to remember her. Oh, Mia, where's Mia? I missed her, Lynn. Oh, hello, sweet Mia. Oh, is she singing? That was lovely. I couldn't even hear it, but I could tell. Oh, she's beautiful. Sweet baby. Yeah, you have those babies that just, they get in your heart. Oh. All right, let's see. Another minute. I'm going to go ahead and get some yellow and white, clean yellow, clean white, clean water. And another minute, we'll be ready to go. Again, this doesn't have to be really dry before we move on. If you have big chunks of wet paint, you might want to smooth those out so they dry a little faster. I used so little paint. Mine's dry already. Again, a little wet paint's okay, but if it's all completely still wet, you might think about a blow dryer here for a minute. All right, let me get a little yellow and white. Okay, yellow and white. So now remember, we want that nice bright spot that's going to radiate out. I'm trying to decide where my tree is going to go. I'm using a 16 by 20 canvas, so 20 inches vertically. I think my tree will wind up being a big fat hand from the bottom. The bottom of it's going to sit right about there. So if I set my hand, bottom will be here. So all this down here is going to be really rocky, rough ground. And then this will be my tree in this area. So I'm just kind of mapping that out in my brain so I know where my tree should live. Now remember, all our colors are transparent except for black and white. So I have yellow and white on my plate. I'm going to start by doing the same kind of scrubbing with the yellow and white. Mostly yellow, tiny bit of white. Okay, here in this middle area. And you can see I'm not using enough white, so you can see the red right through it. Little more white. And I'm going to fill kind of this middle section in, and then I'm going to turn and use this little rosebud section and kind of starburst out from there with yellow and white. Now, oops, onto my rosebud, my little twirls there. Oh, that's fun. Again, give yourself permission to be messy. Messy's okay tonight. Messy is perfectly acceptable. Oh, that's fun. If this makes you super nervous, use more yellow than white because yellow is transparent, right? Yellow is going to be a little more forgiving. And then when you feel bold, add a little bit of white in there. More here. Oh, that's fun. Let's see. Yellow up here. Ooh, that's fun. I don't know how much I'm going to do because I don't want to lose all my undercolors that I have on there. Right? I just want these fun twirls and all this fun stuff in the background. You know what I think I might do? I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to go crazy and play because there's no rules, right? What if I get a little red and white in this section where I already have red and white? Ooh, and add some twirls and red and white down there. Just be careful if you start to go crazy and start playing that you don't start mixing your complementary colors, right? Don't start mixing across the color wheel because that's sure mud, sure poop. Oh, that's fun. I'm going to play with a paper towel. I really like those pops of white that are in the original. Again, being careful not to lose all my fun background that I worked so hard to put in there. Ooh, I changed to a paper towel and I like what I'm getting there with my paper towel. Let's see. Yellow, the white. Okay, get a little more white. Again, remember, we're trying to keep this nice bright spot here in the middle. A little more white back in here. Remember, stay random, stay uneven. Don't get a pattern, which I know is easier said than done. But the more random you can keep this, the better. I hope I've opened your minds too tonight that you don't just have to paint with a brush, right? You can paint with whatever you have around. Old dish towel, old sock, no right or wrong. Oh, it's funny as I look at it, I'm like, that looks kind of messy. But think about when we get that black tree on there, it's going to be sharp. Okay, few more minutes. How about four more minutes? Again, if you feel rushed, you go at your own pace. You can come back and access the recording probably about 9:05. Okay. But in the interest of time and keeping class right around 2 hours, I'm going to move on at 8:30. So about 3 minutes. For this next step, you need clean white and clean water and your toothbrush. Add just a couple more little pops of bright white in there. Oh my God, Beth, I love that. You use poop bags? It was all the poop talk, wasn't it? It was all the poop talk that you're like, oh, puppy poop bags. You know, we take inspiration where it comes. So if you're looking in the Zoom chat, Beth used poop bags to get some cool texture in that background. Yeah, it's all about using, ooh, a Ziploc. That's fun, right? It's all about just getting that cool texture and laying your colors on in the right way. And there's really no right or wrong in art, but there is to get brilliant colors and to not get a muddy mess. That's really the only right when we talk about right and wrong in the art world. Okay, so another minute or so. Again, clean water, clean white, and we'll put stars on there here in just about a minute. And I'm going to go ahead and send this towel to heaven. You know what? I'm not going to send it away to the trash yet in case I have a rogue star that I have to clean up, right? So I'm not going to throw this stuff away yet. I'm going to hang on to it just in case, because you never know when you'll have to clean up a mess. Okay. Okay, so it's 8:30. Let's go ahead and put our stars on there. Let me do a quick splatter tutorial. So you want to make sure, so I have a toothbrush. Again, whenever I go shopping and get new toothbrushes for the medicine cabinet, I never throw my old toothbrushes away. I throw them in my paint bag because I'll use them for something. They are perfect for splattering. But once they get paint all caked in them, you kind of have to pitch them. You want to make sure you have nice flexible bristles, right? Because that's what's going to give you the really good flicks. So here's how we splatter. So I'm going to take this toothbrush. It's dry. It's clean and dry. I'm going to go in my clean water. I'm going to dip my brush down in here in my clean water cup. And then I'm going to go 3 taps, tap, tap, tap. So I have a wet toothbrush, not dripping with water, but it has a couple drops of water in it. And then I'm going to take a chunk of clean white paint, and I'm going to come over here to a clean spot on my plate, and I'm going to scrub, scrub, scrub. I'm using the little bit of water in that toothbrush to thin that paint down a little bit so it'll come off the brush. My paint is too thick to come off the brush for stars, but if I thin it down a little bit, it'll be nice and flickable. Okay. Okay. Just tapping the chunks out of it. Don't want any big blobs. So now if I hold it with the bristles up and I point it at my canvas, pull my finger across it toward me, my paint and the bristles are going to fly back that way. And I'm going to use this to just to screen, just so, because you got to be careful. It's going to fly everywhere. Here we go. And you can put as few or as many stars on there as you want. I'm going to concentrate some in a couple places. There we go. And be careful as you do this. Make sure your painting is sitting pretty vertical, because you could wind up with a drip coming off the end of your toothbrush, and you don't want that to drip down your painting. Okay. When I'm done, I'm just going to toss that in my water cup. Who is that, Leslie? I haven't seen you for a while, honey. Welcome. It's good to see your face. You absolutely could, Kim. You could sponge some areas black back in there, but remember the trick is no pattern, right? So think very random. This is just for Kim. You could take some black and start like right here, start around this corner and like work it in just a little bit and kind of fade it out. Right? You could work it in a couple random areas. I would start from the edges and work my way in though. I would not start with black, like bam, right in the middle and start tapping. That'd be too much. That's too aggressive. I don't know where I would go with it after that. Start at the edge and work your way in and see how you feel. Okay. Okay. Ooh, that's fun. Okay. I'm going to give you another couple minutes because I know some people have to go outside to splatter. So we'll give them a couple minutes to get back. I love how this is turning out. This is fun. Oh, that's fun, Kim. Yeah, I can't wait to see your yellow and white right in the middle. Put your yellow and white in the middle, and then we'll see how you feel. So another minute or so, and then we'll work on the ground and we'll put that tree on there. And again, if you feel stressed, you feel like I'm moving too fast, take a breather. The recording will be up about 5 minutes after class is over. So you can go back and watch it and pause and rewatch. Oh, I love the messiness of this painting. I love it. It's kind of like my brain sometimes. I see everyone's hands when we're done. You know what? That's fun. I think we should do that. Um, so that's a fabulous suggestion, Amber. Amber said she wants to see everyone's hands when we're done because we're all a mess, right? That would be fantastic. I would love if when we're all done, if you would either email me or Facebook message me a picture of you with your painting. And if you could somehow hold your hands, your messy hands, out beside your painting, that would be fantastic. But yeah, Amber, I think when we're done, we should all show our hands on camera. Although I have not intentionally painted my hands tonight. I usually do that, but I have not done that tonight. It's rough, isn't it, Shannon? You get paint everywhere because you have paint on your hands and you pick something up. That's why I kept looking earlier. I'm like, do I have white paint on my forehead? How would white paint get on my forehead? This is my life. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's work on the ground again in the interest of time. I'm going to hang this up just to make it a little easier for you to see. Oh, how do you get paint off cloth? Important. Oh, so what I would do if you get paint on fabric, I would probably not try to clean it right now. I would be really tempted to, if it were mine, I would leave it set because if you try to clean it, like if it's on carpet while it's still wet, there's a really good chance you're going to smear it around. Baby Yoda, you're right. You could dab it with rubbing alcohol. Um, I would probably wait till we're done and then dab it with, put a glob of Murphy's oil soap on it, leave it set overnight, and then come back with a toothbrush and scrub it in the morning. That's how I would tackle it. But Baby Yoda's right, rubbing alcohol works really well too. Okay. So let's talk about the ground where our tree is going to live. So it's going to start low, probably about 2-ish fingers high. And then it's going to kind of really unevenly come up to about a fat hand high. And then kind of back down to 2, maybe 3 fingers high. I'm going to use a knife. If you don't have a knife, you can use an old credit card, old driver's license. If you don't have either of these things, you can take a piece of like junk mail that's like a coated cardstock or a plate that's coated and cut it into squares. Just us talking about washing hands, that was it. You had to wash hands. That's funny. Okay. But I have a knife, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to put my ground on there in black. So I've got my knife or my firm edge, and I'm just dragging it just straight through, right? So I have just a little bit of paint on either edge. What would Bob say? It's that little roll of paint, right? And I'm going to scrape it like I'm buttering toast. So I'm going to start really low down here in the corner. right? By scraping it like that, you can still see some of that color through there. Okay, let's do that again. So this is just black. And again, it starts really low. And then it's going to get a little higher where my tree is going to sit here in the middle. Oh, that's fun. Ooh, getting aggressive. Bring it up a little bit here in the middle. A nice spot for my tree to sit here. Again, don't lose your color that's behind there. Make sure you're leaving patches naked where that color can shine through. If you wind up with too much black, I was just thinking about this. If you wind up with too much black, you could later, I wouldn't do it while the black is wet, but later when that black is dry, you could go back with your knife or your straight edge and add little bits of color back on. If you do wind up with too much black down here. Okay. And at this point, someone asked the question earlier, should we paint the bottom? I think I'm going to go ahead and take a moment now with back to my big brush and some black paint and go ahead and paint the bottom edge of that canvas while I still have wet black on my palette. Take just a moment to do that. That way my black wraps all the way around. Go. Okay. So now I think I'm ready to move on to tree. There we go. Okay. So tree, let's start with our pointy brush. And let's think about what that tree is going to look like. I love that this tree is kind of curved, right? He's been there a while. Pointy brush. Let's clean it out and dry it off. And my tree is going to be black. And I'm going to take a little drip of water. And in the edge of my black paint, I'm going to use that little drip of water to thin that black down a little bit. That black has been out on my palette for about 2 hours now, so it's starting to get a little sticky where it's getting dry. So I'm going to add a drip of water, thin it down just a little bit, and then let's put my tree on there. So I love my tree right here in the middle, and I love that he has this awesome curve. thicken him up at the bottom. And then we'll give him some branches. Now I know we're close to the end of class, but I want to do just a little tiny branch tutorial, just a little one. Okay. When you paint branches, you've got your brush that has that nice point. You've thinned your paint down just a little bit with some water. And then you're going to twirl it gently to get it to a point. And then as you paint those branches, you're going to start on that main trunk and pull out and away and let go. Let up your pressure as you pull out. And if you can do this, if you want to practice a little bit, it's awesome if you can twirl your brush as you do it. By twirling your brush, that makes things look a little more natural, a little natural. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, right? I'm just twirling it gently as I go. So let's see, I want a couple branches up here. Oh, I'm loving this tree. Dancing. Getting some little twirly branches. Okay. And then I'm going to put some leaves on. And I'm going to try really hard to not have like this black leaf cloud, like this big black blob there. I'm going to try really hard to do what I did here with this yellow and white. I think I'm probably going to go back to paper towel because I really liked that look, and do just little swipes for leaves on my tree. You can use a brush if you want, but the rest of this painting is so organic, and so it's almost weird to put these perfect little leaves on there at this point. Up to you though, it's your painting, right? So I'm giving myself just a little paper towel stomper with a little bit of black on there. And I'm going to give some, oh yeah, that's it. Give myself some little black leaves. Heavier in some places, lighter in others. Being sure not to completely lose my color behind my leaves. Remember, uneven, random, organic. Don't get a pattern. Stay out of a pattern. Easier said than done sometimes, right? I think that might be it. And if I do too much more, I'm going to fill too much in. And that's not what I want to do. I don't want to fill it in completely. I do think I'm going to pick a couple areas and make them a little darker. Just a couple. Okay. Right in here. And with that, I think I'm going to call that done. That is so fun. Trying to decide if I need to go just a little heavier here to balance that out. I think I do. Um, something that I just did that you probably didn't even notice I did, I looked at, instead of looking at my painting, I looked at a picture of my painting. It's really hard for me to look at my painting and know what needs to be changed, know if it's done. I struggle with that a little bit. I have found over the years that if I'm not sure if I'm done, I'll take a picture of it and then not even look at my painting, turn my back to it and look at the picture like on my phone, and I'll see it differently in that picture than I do in real life. It's so weird. But what I did just now was, instead of looking at my painting, I turned and looked at my screen and I was like, oh, that's a little heavy on that side. Yeah. I need to go back around and get this just a little heavier down here to balance that out. A little further. There we go. That's better. And then I think with that, I'm going to call that done. That is so fun. So as we wrap up tonight, don't forget to sign your paintings. You guys keep painting, keep playing. You're at home, right? You paint as long as you want. But when you're done, like I said in the beginning, I think it's really important for every artist to sign their painting. Usually bottom left, bottom right. You absolutely could, Rhonda. You could use the takeout knife. I'd probably use the back side of it and not the ridgy side, but that's up to you and whatever look you're going for. So make sure to sign your painting, usually bottom left, bottom right. If you don't want to sign on the front, you don't have to. You can sign on the back. If you sign on the back, never here, always here, always out here toward the wood. You don't want to sign here with a Sharpie or a paint pen and have it bleed through, because this is just fabric. Okay. So I really think that's done. I think I'm going to wait for this to dry and sign right down in here with my little black pen right there and call it finished. So now don't forget to take a picture. I would love to see your hands in your picture if you've got messy hands. Excuse me. Either email it to Shauna Sue at Crooked Door Studio, or private message it to me on Facebook. And don't forget to send me ideas for March. Baby Yoda said we have 4 Saturdays in March. I need 4 good paintings. I think I have one, but I will put them up tomorrow for everyone to vote. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, and then I'll give you the opportunity to unmute yourselves if you want and talk for a little bit. So I am Shauna Sue from Crooked Door Studio. Thank you so much for joining me for Painting Through the Pandemic, and I'll see y'all next week. Thanks.